So, this training is all about understanding the concept of digestive sugar. So, every carbohydrate you eat contains natural sugar. Basically, carbohydrates are strings of sugar called glucose. This is the sciencey word for it, right? When you think of sugar, you taste that sweet flavor, and that's tells you that there's something or that there's sugar in something that you're eating. However, there are some foods that are also carbohydrate that don't taste sweet, and they also have lots of these strings of glucose that make things taste sweet normally. But in this case, they're complex carbohydrates and they don't give you that much of a sweet flavor. So you don't think that they're high in sugar. But once these foods are digested completely, it breaks down into sugar. So it will actually affect your body the same way as just eating sugar off of a spoon would. Now, of course, I want to mention that just eating sugar off of a spoon is definitely not healthy. And eating a complex carbohydrate is healthy. But the thing is that if you have any insulin resistance, even eating a natural whole food carb, just because it does break down into sugar or glucose, will have negative effects on your health and your body and your weight, even though it's natural and a whole food. And this is because most people after a certain age have insulin resistance to some degree, especially if you're overweight. That's a sign that you have insulin resistance. It's basically that you showing you that you can't eat carbohydrates the way you used to without it triggering your fat storage hormone, insulin, because of this resistance. So, in this program, what we're doing is we are putting together everything that you need in terms of eating a natural whole foods diet, eating it in a balanced way so that you're not overeating carbohydrates. And this alone can get rid of this insulin resistance or at least make it less intense so that you're not actually storing body fat as a result of eating carbs. If you're here, you're probably overweight. So there's a really good chance that you have insulin resistance to some degree. For a lot of people, just eating this way is going to resolve your insulin resistance by just not eating so many carbs. And also restoring your muscle mass is going to also help you tolerate carbohydrates more. That's another reason why people, as they age, can't tolerate carbs is because they don't have enough muscle mass to store the glucose for later for when they need to use their muscles. Because as we age, not only are we losing that muscle mass, but it's the lifestyle that we're living, sitting behind desks and not moving. So we're not maintaining our muscle mass. So we don't need that glucose. And we are not athletes, so we don't need a lot of sugar because we don't need those big bursts of energy that you would need to be like a sprinter or an athlete. So these are all the factors that come together that make it so that we have a trouble tolerating carbohydrates as we age. And this is something that is happening not because of aging itself, it's just that the lifestyle that we've lived, it compounds over time. And then we don't start to notice the negative effects of it until we're older. We can get away with a lot when we're younger because we haven't been, putting our bodies through, what they've gone through in modern society for as long. And we have hormones in our youth that make it so that we have muscle mass and more ability to tolerate the sugar that's in carbohydrates. But for some people, if you started with a really poor standard North American diet from a very early age, can have these problems as early as, in your 20s. Or if you have hereditary susceptibility to not being able to handle carbohydrates as much. The way we eat carbohydrates in the modern lifestyle, it's not necessarily natural. So the point is not to get heal your insulin resistance so that you can go back and eat a ton of carbs because just the eating a ton of carbs too many can lead to insulin resistance. So, what we're trying to do is actually eat carbs in moderation and also make it so that our body has more tolerance for them. Not so that we can eat processed refined carbs, but so that we can eat natural whole food carbohydrates.